week's episode of the It's Just Dinner podcast, where we're changing the dating culture one episode at a time. I'm your host, Tom Robinson, and sitting right next to me, my co-host, Bob Walls.
Tom, it's great to be here.
Nice to see you.
Oh, it's nice to see you too.
And you know what? When you're sitting next to me, that means that we have guests in.
We do, because when we're on the same side of the table, that means there's somebody else on the other side of the table.
I usually don't like to get this close to you.
Well, you know, it's because you want to whack me every once in a while. Because I say things that you don't agree with.
Many things, like
and
kissing.
This is your podcast,
kissing, for example.
And if you disagree with the host, he whacks you at one.
I would recommend you go listen to the Great Kiss Debate and hear how badly I put Bob to shame.
Yeah, just listen to that and see how badly, would you?
Well, we have 3 young men with us.
Yes, it's great. I've been getting to know them here.
And Bob, I want to tell you, and I don't know if you remember this, but we have never had 3 young men on our podcast.
It has been lopsided since we've been doing this. We get a lot of young women who want to come in and complain about dating. Just so you guys know. You get a lot of complaints about you know, not you specifically, but there's a lot of women out there that are very upset and even angry about the current status of the dating culture.
And so you guys get to defend yourselves.
And all men.
All men. You're speaking for all men today. All men, not only here at BYU, but around the world. So are you prepared for that?
That's a lot of pressure on these guys.
Why don't you introduce yourselves to our listeners?
Okay,
Tell me your name.
I can start. I'm Jonathan Baird, or JB as Talmadge.
JB, where are you from?
I'm from Spokane, Washington.
Spokane. And are you a student here?
I'm a student
what are you
at
studying?
BYU. So I'm a sophomore. I'm studying cell biology.
Okay.
Cell biology.
Wow, that's
He's one of those smart guys.
Wow, and here we are in communications.
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
Okay, and tell me, go ahead. Do you want to ask him another question?
No, I'll ask him other questions later. I'm just still trying to digest cell biology.
Yeah.
I mean, like I can't even figure
Don't
out
what
that
even know
is.
what that is.
I don't even know to ask a
imagine
question.
me. I'm trying to learn about it.
We're both in the same.
Okay.
Well, no, you're trying. I'm not.
All right, tell me who you are.
I'm Talmadge Mitchell. I'm the second of the 3rd boys tasked with defending the man kind of race.
Good.
Here you are. Talmadge, where are you from?
I'm from Ogden, Utah.
Ogden.
Yeah.
Wow, I've been there.
You like it?
It's okay. Yeah,
it's a little cold up there.
So
you know,
it's
just
the home of Weber State University.
Yes. Yeah, I'm right down the
road. So we'd like to welcome all of our Weber State listeners.
Go Wildcats.
That Talmadge is here representing you.
And Talmadge, you're majoring in
business management.
Business management.
Nice.
Good for you. That's great.
Too bad it's not advertising, but that's okay.
Well, that's the smart people go into business management.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Like, no,
so
not the creative people.
Oh,
so
okay.
We're the creative people. All right, and tell me your name.
Awesome. I'm Jake Houston, and I'm from Rivertown, Utah.
There you go. Hey, pronounced it correctly. Rivertown.
Rivertown.
They misspelled it Riverton. Some people say it that way, but we know it's Rivertown.
I know where Riverton is. So I've been there too.
It's a great place.
Yeah, very cool. And what are you studying?
I'm studying IS, so Information Systems.
Okay. And your year in school is?
I'm a freshman.
You're a freshman?
Well, I'm a sophomore now.
Yeah, I was going to say you
sophomore. Well, congratulations.
You seem much more mature for a freshman.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Well, guys, thank you for being here. We appreciate it,
us.
And it's going to be fun to listen to you
now,
defend
did you know
today.
before you came here, when you were invited to this thing, that you were going to be defending all the men of the university in the world on dating?
Yeah, Macy. So
she
Macy told you that, right? Okay.
So Macy is the one who sucked you guys into this, and apparently every one of you is in love with Macy at some level.
And we'll tell
absolutely.
We'll tell everyone.
And that's how she convinced you to come on this, because you're hoping to score points.
We're hoping to score a date with her.
If you can just date her.
Well, we can't guarantee that because that's not part of the show here, you know. But we can try to persuade her.
Now we'll let everyone know that's listening is Macy has just been hired as our new producer.
And I just met her, but she's delightful.
She is delightful, and she's going to be
from
a great
Gilbert,
producer.
Arizona.
Yeah, another Arizona, and that's great.
And earlier these young men told me she was sick. So I guess our
SIC.
Well, all of our listeners will understand that, but for me, I was thinking, oh dear, did she have COVID or what? You know, what is wrong here? You know, but apparently that's a good thing these days.
Yeah,
being sick. It's a great thing.
Yeah,
it's a great thing. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Macy, sick. Got it.
Macy. And Macy brought these. She's the one that.
Yeah, she set up this show, and she did the whole thing. She does all the stuff.
She said they could defend all the young men.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay, so let me tell you what one of the things that girls say right away is that you are the reason why dating is so dysfunctional here at BYU. that you have no idea.
Okay, not you specifically, but
Not you
you
specifically.
in
Your
general.
gender.
Yes.
I'm talking about your gender.
Y'all.
So again,
Yeah.
you're defending your gender. So if I say you, I mean your gender. Okay. That you are the reason why dating is so dysfunctional, and that you were the ones that don't date, and because you don't date, they don't get to date. So what do you think about that?
I mean, first off, it hurts a little bit, to be honest. It does hurt a little bit, especially for dudes like us that, that do put in work and try to do the right thing. I mean, obviously, we're not all perfect, and there are some dudes out there that aren't dating.
Right.
And that obviously that's why the girls are talking, saying what they're saying. But I think the first thing to know is there are some needles in the haystack. There are some dudes out there.
They're out there.
They're
out there, and they're doing their
take,
part.
Let me just take a step back here. So imagine this: you're living in Gilbert, Arizona. You're living someplace else, and you think, "Wow, when I go to BYU, it's going to be the dating mecca." Because people will be dating
every
all the time.
weekend.
Because
there's
weekend. Like 60,000 people between the ages of 18 and 30 there, and I'll be dating all the time. It'll be so fun. But what happens is they get here, everyone except for Macy, and they find that nobody asked them out. And so we have some students who are seniors who have never been asked out on a date in the 4 years that they've been here at the university. So can you imagine how traumatic that would be? And so they come to their bishop, like they do Dr. Robinson, and they say to you,
I've never been on a date. And then I say,
no. They say, what's wrong with me?
oh, well, that's the girls, yeah.
They come
and that is very serious. They sit down and they say, nobody's asking me out. What's wrong with me?
And so
how do you answer that question?
It becomes a personal insult to them that they think there's something wrong with them. And so it causes them anxiety and depression. And so we've seen this over the last several years that it's changed, that there's a lot of the young women who have anxiety, depression, and anger because they're here at BYU. They're among 60,000 other, 30,000 other eligible men,
here,
and no one asked them
UVU is
out.
another 30.
Well,
Bob, I would also say that, again, what we found, this isn't just a BYU thing or a Utah thing. This is something that's going on throughout the United States, that women are sitting home because guys are doing one of two things, either not asking out or they're just looking for a hookup.
And so based on your comment here, I'm getting the feeling that you three guys are not delinquent in this, that you're doing your job here, that you're putting in your time, that you're asking people out.
I would say that yes, we are. And I think
is that Macy? Is that why you invited these guys? Because
they actually date.
They're blue chippers.
So Macy can attest. We take girls out on fun dates. We plan and think. I think a big part of it is super sad to think about people sitting home Friday, Saturday night, especially like seniors who have not been asked out on a date. And this is not to point any fingers at them or anything, but dating is a 50-50 thing.
Oh, no. Yeah.
There is no problem with girls asking guys out.
Oh, wait a minute. Can you repeat that real quick?
I would say there is no problem with girls asking guys out, and I would say that is to be encouraged.
Oh, yes. Okay, so let me ask you guys this, and since we're talking about that, is what happened? What do you think? How do you feel when a girl comes up to you and asks you out on a date? Is that okay? Is that acceptable?
Yeah, that feels incredible. I'll just say, since being back from my mission, I think I've asked a lot of girls out, probably like 20 to 30 times I've asked a girl out, and I've gotten asked out 0 times.
Oh,
wow.
So, and I know that we're not.
And JB looks good. JB's a good-looking guy.
He is a good-looking man. I was going to say that.
Yeah.
This is a podcast, handsome, but he is a good-looking man. Yeah. It's odd to have to say that, but it's the truth. So far, no girl has come up to you and said, "Hey, you want to go out to dinner? Or you want to do something?"
Yes, 0 times.
And does it make you feel very bad? Are you depressed?
No, because it's kind of normal, but I think it's more of just if they did ask me out, I would be shocked and super happy.
Right.
I don't know if I wouldn't say no to any girl that came up and asked me out. So,
wow.
And I don't
girls,
think girls
listen.
know that, so.
Wow. Tell me about how you feel about it.
The exact same way. I would say I have been asked out, and every time, and maybe not necessarily for a date, like going to dinner or doing an activity, but maybe just to hang out. And every single time I've said yes, just because it's such a breath of fresh air. It's like that doesn't happen all the time.
Wow.
Where a girl will go out of their comfort zone and ask.
Wow, that's great. Jake?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you're doing, who's it with. If you get asked out by a girl, you go.
Yeah.
And they're all great experiences too.
Yeah.
All great experiences.
So why do we still have a problem with girls asking guys out? Well, where we've come as a society, why is it that girls don't ask guys out?
I think that's just the social stigma. That's the social norm, is that girls don't ask guys out. And I think it's just because they think that that's like the guy's job.
Right.
And then obviously there's the fear factor for both genders to go out of your comfort zone, put yourself out there, and then ask. And so I think because girls haven't grown up with that, haven't gone through junior high and high school, asking guys out on dates, they're not accustomed to it. So whether it's in Provo, whether it's across the world, like, girls don't have that same pressure that guys have to ask the other gender out.
There's a little bit of fear involved in this. So,
well, they're feared, Bob, because they're afraid that they're changing the stereotypical
and also,
roles.
Jonathan, you said that you asked about 30 girls out on dates. Did any of them say no, or are you just counting the ones that said yes?
Yeah, some of them say no. Usually it's like a soft no, or kind of we were talking about earlier, is they'll just like ghost you. They won't say anything.
That's a bad
we talk
thing.
about ghosting all the time.
So and I think for a lot of people, when you haven't done this a lot, it's hard to get that no, because that's kind of, you get up all the courage to go and ask somebody, and then they say no or they ghost you. It hurts, and so you think, well, maybe I better not do that again.
Right.
So I think that's what we've seen in our experience with a lot of the young men, is that they get the courage to ask a girl out, and then she says no, and then they're afraid to get back on the horse and try it again.
Right, and I think some of the young women we've talked to have had the same problem.
The same thing.
They
So it's the
ask a
fear of
boy out,
rejection,
and he says no, and it puts her into depression, and then she won't try it again.
But so they said something was really interesting here, Tom. They said, I think you said this, Tom, if she asks, you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And so because it's such a novelty that it's so exciting, I think you said that you say yes because you want to go and get to know them. So you're not going to put them down if they come to you and bring up the courage to ask you. You'll go out on the date. Maybe you don't like them. Maybe there's not a connection there, but you're still willing to invest the time to go and get to know them for an hour.
Bob, it's after 26 minutes.
After we've done the math on this thing, so we'll have to educate you on the timeline of the date.
All of our listeners know what that means.
They do. This is this weird thing that we do at universities. We have to measure everything, but
yeah.
26 minutes is what you got. And so how do we change that culture? How do we get girls to ask out more? Are you unique in that you say yes?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think another reason why girls aren't asking it a bunch is because they're getting asked so much. There's like you said, 60,000.
You're dealing with a whole different group than we do.
So some girls, Macy, get asked a lot on dates.
Sophia, what about Sophia? She gets asked out a lot.
And some girls don't get asked out at all.
Yeah.
And so there's a disparity there, between those. And so I think that the girls who get asked out a lot probably aren't asking out because they don't have time to do that.
It's the ones that are sitting home alone on Friday and Saturday. The ones that came in to talk to me that said, "What's wrong with me?"
Right. Yeah.
Nobody's asking me out. So what's wrong with me? So what do we tell those girls? What do we tell those young men about when those girls ask them out? Ask them to go to dinner.
I feel like just general, like how you should general behavior, you should just go on a date if you're asked. Maybe just even if it's a first date, and you can kind of set time limits. Like if a girl, for example, that Jake or JB or I don't really want to go out with, ask us out, we'll still go. And you can tell them, hey, we can go out for 30 minutes, an hour.
Right.
You don't have to spend the whole
we always
night.
say an hour
right.
here.
An hour,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's not going to be like so painful that you can't go.
Well, it's about getting to know someone, right?
Yeah.
And so it's okay to sit down and talk to someone maybe that you're not romantically attracted to, and just sit and talk to her.
Yeah,
and get to know her. And it doesn't have to lead to anything, right?
I think that's a great point. Like, I think in Provo there's such a pressure to get married.
Oh, yeah.
That when people say date, it's like, okay, he will probably propose to me either at the end of tonight or in 2 dates from now.
Oh, my gosh.
It's not like, okay, we can go out and see where it goes. It feels like, oh, he said date or she said date. this is gonna go somewhere. They're gonna try to kiss me at the end of the night or whatever the next step is.
Yeah,
so
do that.
Don't do that.
But you heard me at the beginning saying we're trying to change the dating culture one episode at a time, and that's exactly what this podcast is all about.
See, we're trying to break that stigma that comes, because you go out on a first date with someone in the room, is saying, "Well, how was it? Is he the one?
Is he the one?"
And then we have stupid things that people say, like every girl you look at, you should picture her as your eternal companion.
Huh.
Because that puts so much pressure.
Yeah, it changes everything.
So now you don't even know this person. You have no idea if you connect at all, but you're looking at her as your eternal companion?
Or vice versa. She's looking at you.
Yeah, and so it puts so much pressure on that first date that it makes it really untenable. Because you can't be yourself when you've got that level of pressure on you. And the idea that you're going to come and date one person and marry them.
Right. After a couple of weeks. Have you guys ran into that? Have you ran into where you went out with a girl and you maybe a couple of dates and all of a sudden it got really uncomfortable because you could feel she was expecting something more than what you were expecting? Have you seen that happen?
Yeah, I would say that happens not a lot, but it is pretty uncomfortable because I've gone on dates with girls where it's maybe 2 or 3 dates, which obviously if I'm going on 3 dates, I could potentially see it going somewhere, but it's still pretty low-key and chill, and you can just kind of feel that they're expecting a lot more, and that'll kind of shut me off unintentionally.
Anything? Do they say anything?
Usually not.
Okay. I mean, I was wondering if they mention marriage or engagement. No, you're not seeing that happen.
The communication is not there.
Yeah,
okay.
The communication's not there.
I mean, it's the biggest problem with all of this is the lack of effective communication skills on both genders.
And Bob and I are in the school of communication.
That's right. That's what we do. That's our expertise. So here's, I'll give you the formula here. What we have found scientifically is that when 2 people are in a conversation together at dinner or somewhere else, that the first 26 minutes, if there is a spark. Now, we identify a spark as something that attracts your attention, that piques your interest. And generally, if there's a spark within the first 26 minutes, there's generally a second date. If there's not a spark within the first 26 minutes, the average date is 51 minutes. That means the last 25 minutes is just treading water to get out of it.
Trying to figure out how to get out of that date.
Survival.
And so the spark is the important part. And so it's hard to identify what a spark is, but it's something that happens between 2 people that makes them think, I'd like to get to know this person.
And Bob,
more.
I think when there is that spark, and you guys tell me when there's that spark, you want to spend more time with them, right?
Yeah.
And so that conversation may go on to 2 or 3 hours just talking and having some interest. And then there might be a second date, right? Because you have something in common, and there was something interesting that you found in this young woman or young man, right?
Mm-hmm. And if there's not, then you're just going to get through, bide your time, and then it's over, and you're probably not going to see each other again. So it's important for people to understand that communication is how you identify if you have compatibility with someone. If you can't sit down with someone and have a conversation for 26 minutes and find something where you connect, then they're not for you.
Right.
And so that's why we have our timeline of 26 minutes.
I've never heard the 26 minutes.
Yeah,
you need to listen to this podcast.
We found actual research of this. So another thing the girls, and this is right along the same topic, what the girls tell us is the young men have commitment problems, where they'll date 3, 4, 5 dates, and they think that they treat them like there's always something better on the other side of the fence. So I'm not going to commit to you because I'll be walking down the hallway and something better will come along.
They don't say this, but that's...
No, but they think, is that true? Do you have commitment problems? And I mean, he's went out with 30 girls. He has commitment problems.
Well, no, I did not say that.
I don't think he has commitment
so,
problems.
I mean, do the young men out there have commitment problems? And are they always looking for something better?
Yes, but so do girls. Yeah. I think it's a mixed bag. I think girls will also be doing the same thing. You'll go on 4 or 5 dates, and you're like, oh, I really like this girl. But then she's saying, I don't want a relationship. I don't want anything serious. Whatever.
Or she's not even saying it. She's just ghosting you.
Or she's not saying it.
Well,
so I think it goes both ways.
We've talked about that too. If you're ghosting after 3, 4, 5 dates, that's a horrible thing.
Right.
And what everybody needs to understand, in dating, is that ghosting hurts more than getting told no.
Yeah.
Because earlier we said they won't say or there's not good enough communication after the date.
Right.
Because I would so much rather hear after the first date, hey, Talmadge, it was fun, but you're not my type. I don't think you're cute. I don't think you're funny. I would rather hear that.
Please don't say that. That really is hurtful.
I would rather hear any of one of those and say a second date is not likely, or like it was fun, but it'll never happen again. I'd rather hear any of that than not hear anything at all, or just like, okay, yeah, maybe another time, or oh, this excuse, that excuse. That hurts so much more than just being told, nope, don't like you, it's not going to happen.
And how many times have we talked about this, Bob? Where
not enough.
Not
apparently.
enough, clearly. But that is a problem. And to be honest, straightforward is always the best thing. Jake, have you had that happen to you?
Oh, countless times. I mean, I've been home from a mission 8-9 months now. So I mean, I haven't been here for too long.
Right.
But I've been here long enough to get a good dose of what's going on. And the amount of dishonesty and just the lack of being like a respectable human being, it's not here that often, and it goes both sides, like Talmadge just said. It's both genders.
Okay, wait, whoa. You're telling me the young women do that? They don't respect you? And
holy cow, yeah, it's
really?
insane. Yeah,
really?
I mean, we put in,
because they tell us that all the time about you. So I want to hear more about this.
We'll put in hours of thinking for these amazing group dates that are so fun,
right?
For everyone there involved, and then a couple days down the line, they're not answering a text here and there. They're not answering your calls, and then all of a sudden they're gone without any communication.
You guys plan some really fun group dates that you do as friends and roommates. So you invite people and you get together in a group, which I think is a really good idea, because that's how you kind of get to know people, and then you can decide if you want to invite them out on a single date. So see, in the church, a lot of times they say, well, everything should be a group date.
Right.
And that's one of the dysfunctional reasons, because a lot of the times the young men never learn how to ask a girl out, because before their mission, they've only gone on group dates, which are awkward and odd. But it can be very productive, and this is where Tom and I disagree, when doing what you're doing, because now you're inviting people to associate with you in a group setting. And you can kind of see how they are, and you can kind of see, okay, is this somebody I would like to get to know better? And then you can transition to asking them, would you like to go to dinner?
For sure.
Is that what we're talking about here?
In my opinion, Bob, I think, and you and I argue
you're
about
the
this,
host of the show, so your opinion always counts the most.
In my opinion, young men hide behind that. They hide in a group setting because they're afraid of actually asking a girl to go out to dinner. Girls like one-on-one, eye to eye, because what happens in a group is you ignore her. You don't talk to her. You don't spend time with her. And there's all these other people around, and they can't get to know you. So that's why I like sitting at dinner one-on-one, face-to-face, eye-to-eye, and getting to know that person. Talmadge, what do you think?
I think with this, I think we ask out on group dates, and a lot of guys ask on group dates, because in my eyes, there's a hierarchy in terms of pressure. There's you ask a girl to hang out, that's the lowest.
Right.
We've heard this before.
You go on a group date, that's the number 2. And then a one-on-one date is the most pressure. That's the top.
Right.
See, but how do we take that pressure off? Because it shouldn't be a pressure situation. Because it's not a date, it's just dinner.
That's true.
And and she needs, and the boys need to sit down one-on-one. Right. I think a group date is great, but it's a totally different thing.
It's true.
And I think the young men out there are hiding behind that. And they say, okay, well, I'll ask this girl to go on this group date, and you spend all the time with all these people, and she doesn't get to know you.
Right.
So again, that's where Bob and I disagree. So
well, we don't totally disagree, because the name of the show is just dinner, and the whole premise is that you ask somebody out and you have a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah.
And so how you get to that point, it might be someone that you see at the library. It might be someone that you went on a group date with friends and you got to know. So there's a variety of different ways, but the most important thing that we need to do is emphasize that you've got to transition from hanging out to asking out.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that's where we seem to have the hang up, because a lot of the young women who come in and say, guys ask me to hang out all the time, and then nothing. I never get to really know anybody and so I think that's, and then there's a lot of guys that are not as astute as you three gentlemen are in setting up fun group dates. And so they haven't had that experience. They don't know how to do that before, and they don't have a group to associate with. So they're better off just to ask someone out and say, would you like to go get ice cream? Would you like to, have dinner for an hour? Because the best thing that a young man can do is have a conversation with a female that
he could potentially be
the
your
worst
friend.
thing that can happen is that you make a friend.
And you get ice cream.
And you have ice cream or whatever it is. But so from the time that you're 12 until you're 18, if you're told don't date, those are the developmental years of your life. And so how do you learn how to develop a relationship with a member of the opposite sex if you've never? And so now suddenly you're back from your mission, and what do I do?
Can I just point out that because of the It's Just Dinner podcast, the For Strength of Youth has changed that.
You're taking credit for that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I'm taking credit.
well.
So any of the church leaders out there, you can have Bob and I come talk to you about how we changed.
Well, they're probably going to come and talk to us now. That's for darn
changing
sure.
the dating culture one episode at a time.
We might be changing
All right,
our
so
job
what do you guys
one
tell
episode
these guys? I mean, you guys have roommates. You know guys that are just sitting in the apartment, and you look at them and you kind of feel sorry for them, and you're like, okay, you need to get out and you need to do something. What would you tell them? Because there are young women waiting for them to ask them out.
Yeah, well, I think it's really hard for a lot of guys. I have a lot of friends, a couple specifically, who have asked girls out, like one girl multiple times, and she will kind of push it off, and then she'll just ghost them. And I think they're like really good-looking guys, really cool guys, and that just gets them to the core. I know you guys were talking about how that hurts when you get
dagger
ghosted,
to the heart,
and it does hurt. But more than that, it just causes confusion.
Yeah.
And all those guys, like, a lot of them have just stopped asking girls out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think...
But how do we fix that?
In my opinion, from the guy's perspective, there's nothing you can really do besides just have tougher skin and just do it.
Right.
It's not about the ratio of girls that say yes and girls you ask. It's just all about the numerator.
And Bob and I have talked about the fact you're going to get rejected.
Yes.
You're going to get rejected, and it's part of the plan we signed up for. And it's going to hurt, but you can't just sit there, right? I mean, tell me how dangerous it is for them to sit.
It's worse. Going back to like which one hurts worse, the pain of rejection is less than like the pain of regret for not asking.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Like you see a cute girl, you're like, I should ask her out. I should do something. I should talk to her. But then you don't, and you like walk back to your car. You walk back to your friends. That hurts more than her saying.
Oh, that's
the walk of
that's
shame.
a really good point. Really good point.
That is.
But like most boys haven't experienced the pain of rejection. They've just experienced the pain of regret, and so they don't know that it hurts less.
That's genius.
That is. We're going to steal that. Or we're going
to
to use that from now on.
That's
It's Just Dinner podcast.
Say, you no longer own that. We own that now.
Plagiarism.
We copyrighted this.
Anything mentioned in this program becomes the property of the It's Just Dinner broadcast.
No, but that's genius. I love that, and I do think that's true. I think that's true from back when you and I were dating, that we have these regrets of things we didn't do. And really what Bob and I have come up with is just an easy solution. Is you see that girl, you just go say, are you going to eat tonight? And she says yes, and then say, well, I'm going to eat tonight too. You want to do that together?
That's smooth.
Yeah, that's very
I like
smooth.
that.
Let's go to Taco Bell, my treat. Right? And I'll tell you right now, the girls like Taco Bell. I've asked many of them. So
it's clean. It's a good clean place.
And a clean Chick-fil-A also works too.
It works that same way.
These guys have no idea what we're talking about.
So they don't. This is an inside joke here, but that's fine. So the difference is also you have that disappointment, but also what we find, and this is on a bigger end, is that you have a lot of young men who then sit home and play video games, and they don't develop relationships, or they get into their computer and they start looking at pornography.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger problems.
And so in our society, we have a huge problem in this country with people who look at pornography, but because they're not out developing proper relationships with women. Right. And so they're viewing women not as friends, but viewing them as objects.
Yeah.
I was just gonna bring that up, actually, the problem with that. And most of us, the root of most communication problems are stemming from our phones.
Right.
And all of us are sitting at home at our apartments, just looking at our phones, and we're talking to all these different people, and we're hiding behind the screen, saying whatever we want to say.
Right.
And I was watching The Notebook a few days ago. I don't know if y'all have seen that movie. When he goes up.
Wait, you admitted you watched The Notebook?
I watched it. I have a sister.
There's a soft heart, ladies. You need to talk to Jake.
And I was watching it, and he goes up to the girl at the carnival or whatever, and just starts talking to her, and they go ride a ride, and it's like the most natural thing ever, the way he got to know her. And I'm like, holy cow! Like, when is the last time I've seen that? I haven't seen myself do it. I haven't seen my friends do it. I'm like, why can't we do that? So I think it's just.
See, what we're fighting against on that is this culture that we have created here, that when you ask that girl out on the first date, that you're proposing marriage.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why it's not working, is because one of the two of you is like, oh, I don't want to get married.
I just want to be friends. I just wanted to talk.
But see, in that situation, it was just someone that they were attracted to, that they thought, I want to get to know them better.
Yeah.
And so when you take all that pressure off, there's nothing wrong with getting to know. So when they went out on that first date, if they hadn't had some spark, which they did, if you go back and watch the movie, within 26 minutes, well, the whole movie was only, they had to speed it up for the movie. They didn't wait the 26 minutes. But there was some spark that occurred that made them want to be together again.
And get to know each other more.
But if you don't have that first conversation,
you're not going to know.
You're not going to know.
Love it.
I love the analogy of using the notebook in the podcast.
Great.
Do we have to pay them?
The girls will love that.
Do we have to pay them? Do we have to pay Paramount for that or something? Probably not.
Hope not.
Yeah.
So you guys have seen these young men, right? That are not doing this. And I think depression is another problem, and I think depression drives them into the computers.
We're tired of it, and we want you guys to fix it.
And we want you to tell the young women how we're going to fix this.
Right
okay,
now.
Well, the two things that come to my mind after our conversation are, one, the pressure of a first date needs to go down.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a marriage thing.
We
write
need to
that
have
down.
him.
Write that down. Number one.
I've heard
Write
that before.
Macy, you writing this down? Write it down. Number one.
And then
no pressure on the date.
And if the pressure is low and everyone agreed to that, then there would be no problem with guys just asking out girls and girls just asking out
It would be
guys.
datorama like it was back when Brigham Young and I were in school.
Yeah, and honestly, that's what this podcast is all about, is trying to lower that pressure with, like I said, just asking someone, hey, you want to go get something to eat? And if it can be that simple, then it would be great. And a lot of the guys tell me, I do have a lot of guys tell me, say, well, what if the girls don't understand that it's just dinner? Well, they think it's going to be something more than that.
That's why people need to listen to this podcast. So what's number two, Jonathan? Because you had a number one. So
number one was that the pressure needs to be lowered, and then number two, guys and girls need to ask out more.
Right, girls and guys.
Yeah.
And I think that you talked about communication. I think somewhere along the way, don't you need to tell them that this is just friends? We're just casual. This is just me getting to know you. I mean, so how do we break that down?
So can we add a number three in here? Will you be opposed to this?
Absolutely.
Number three would be being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get to know you.
Right.
I think is a really good thing to say.
And I think you could solve that just with like one question pre-date. So like, what are you expecting out of this? Because then you can see their perspective, and then you could say, just in turn, I'm just kind of looking to get to know you.
Right.
I'm thinking this is just dinner. Like, don't worry about anything. We'll be gone for an hour.
Let's just go have fun.
I don't know you very well. I'd like to get to know you better. Could we go talk?
Yeah, then they get to say their perspective, because then you asked them, what are you expecting out of this? And they can say, dinner, I don't know you.
Yeah.
Or I'm...
And I will tell you this, that time after time after time I've had young women tell me is that we just want to get to know the guy.
Yeah.
We just want to talk and get to know him. And a lot of times the guys are trying to push it into more. But really, doing exactly what you guys just said is just asking someone out, being honest with them, saying, I just want to get to know you. Let's just talk.
And part of being honest is don't have false expectations of a first date.
Of what it is, yeah.
But both male and female, because, sometimes if you've never been asked out and it's been years or months since you've been asked out and somebody asks you out, you're not letting them get away, because, and so then, you're bringing them cookies every other day and you're stalking them and that kind of weird stuff happens too. And so the honesty needs to be understanding that this is just an hour-long conversation.
Did you say just dinner?
Well, it could be just dinner or just a conversation or something where you're just having a conversation to get to know each other, and at the end of this, it might be that you just had fun for an hour.
We had a couple of dating experts that say, look, it might be that you just met someone that was interesting or that you like talking to, and it may never go into anything else. And guess what? That's okay, guys. Yeah. That's okay. Plan a 1 hour, and then that's it. If you never see her again or she never talks to you again, that's okay.
I would like to pose a question to the girls, though, and ask, and I guess we have two here.
Okay, so this is the part we like.
Bring the girls in here.
Yeah.
Say a boy comes up to you, and you've never talked to them before, you've never met them, they're completely new. You think they're cute enough to go out with or to hang out with? What would be the ideal scenario? Them asking you to an hour dinner, them asking you to go on a group date, them asking you to come and hang out with their friends while they go
to a concert for 8 hours.
Go do something. Or like, do you want a one-on-one? Do you want a group something? Do you want to hang out? What do you think? Should you text for a couple days? Should they call you? Because I think sometimes guys don't even know how to go about it. I like to get a girl's number and then just call them. But I think that freaks girls out sometimes because they aren't used to that. And so I just don't know like the best way to go about it from like a girl's perspective. What are they even wanting?
Okay, so Sophia, since you've got, Macy's going to step in here.
Okay, well, I think that, I've seen Talmadge actually like call girls and ask them on dates before.
You've actually observed this
in
the wild.
Yeah, I won't lie. I was laughing in the living room while he was doing this because
It was that bad.
No, it was, it was just fun to watch.
Oh.
So, I think that when you're kind of doing the old-fashioned way, like you call a girl and say, hey, like I want to have you come on a date with me, like I think that says a lot about that person versus just like texting them on a date. But I think if a guy were to just come up to you and ask you to dinner or to ask you on a date, if I like don't know anything about them but I think they're cute enough, I think I would be a little nervous to just go to dinner with them because I don't know what I'm expecting.
Right.
But at the same time, if you go on the date and you can't talk for an hour, okay, then I don't have to worry about that ever again because I'll never see you again. I already know that it's
for 26 minutes.
26 minutes, yeah.
It's not an hour. It's 26 minutes. If something in that 26 minutes, then you're out of there. You could leave after 27 minutes if you just say, hey, nothing happened. 27 minutes, I'm out of here.
Give him 51.
But I see, like, I'm like, okay, group date, like, that's more chill. Like, I can kind of not feel as more pressure with that. So I feel like as a girl, getting asked on a group date as the first date would probably be my ideal.
Interesting.
Because it's just less pressure. But
she needs to remember who she works with.
Okay,
I know, but if you just go to dinner first, you get that hour out of the way, you don't ever have to question if it's worth it to go on another.
It's effective. It's efficient. Sophia?
I should probably have a bigger fear factor. I think, first of all, just to start out, I think people like think about like the correct way that you're supposed to do something. I think whatever comes naturally to you, you're going to attract that kind of person. So if you're terrified of talking to people in person, you're probably not going to end up with someone that loves to talk to people in person. So just text. But like, I should probably be more scared about people like going to random things, but I love doing stuff. And so like 2 of the guys I've dated have been because they've just walked up to me on campus and been like, I'm going on a boating trip this weekend, like, do you want to come? And I've just went.
Wow.
But I think like you shouldn't necessarily do that.
I'm going on a cruise to the Caribbean for a week.
But I just like doing that kind of stuff. So just do whatever you're comfortable with and you'll attract the person that is comfortable with that thing.
Interesting.
I think.
Interesting. So if they're not comfortable with it, if somebody asks you something you're not comfortable with, you'll just say no. But if you are comfortable with it, no matter what they ask, you might say yes.
Okay, guys, what do you think of that? What are you going to do with that information?
You know, I heard something a few days ago, and I can't remember who told me, but they just said, "Hey, no one's going to marry your wife." So let's just take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath and just do what comes natural.
Right.
Do what comes natural.
Where's Macy's old boyfriend?
But yeah, no one's going to marry your wife. No one's going to go out there and take the person that you're supposed to be with.
Yeah, that's true. So in the long run, it's going to be that way.
But why not have fun along the way, right?
Let's have fun. Let's
get to know people, make friends, have fun along the way.
What do you guys think? Dead silence.
In terms of what? Like what the girl said?
What they just said, yeah. I mean, they just gave you some advice. What do you think?
And
you're speaking for all the boys in the world.
The entire male population. I would say that's kind of like what I expected in terms of like, and I like this idea of like doing what comes natural. Because like for me, natural is like calling them and just being straightforward. Hey, I want to go out. Not texting for a couple of days, then finally doing it. Just like, I got your number. Let's go out. Let's do something before you forget who I am. I forget who you are. Let's do it and see. And so then I think it comes down to like obviously what we talked about, communication, asking them, hey, what would you want to do? What are you hoping to get out of this? And then you can kind of see if I should take her out to dinner, if I should take her on a group date, if I should have her come play spike ball on the weekend with me and my friends or whatever it is. And then you can kind of see if you have asked them and then you get their input. So there's not this gray area where you're operating where you don't know what their intentions are and you don't even really know what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. I would say, again, I'm just going to go back to it, like being bold. And obviously there's a fear factor to it. So be normal, be chill, but guys have to start asking, and who cares if they say yes or no? You have to build that mindset of whatever. Like, I think she's cute. I want to ask her out, and then if she says no, then so be it.
Yeah.
But you just have to do it.
Right.
Going along with that, being bold, and I know this goes for a lot of guys, I will like rationalize my mind. I'll see a cute girl, I'm like, oh, it's not a good time. She's doing this. I'm doing this. I think we just have to cut that out.
Right.
And
excuses.
The excuses and saying, oh, she's like doing homework. Who cares about her homework?
And I love that comment because I think what we talk about on this podcast fits perfect into that. Because it's not you're going up and asking someone on a date. You're saying, hey, let's get an ice cream, or you want to go get hot chocolate and talk. So it's about talking and about connecting. And so you really don't need to worry about what they're doing because you're not having them commit more than 1 hour to doing something fun with you and just talking.
Yes. Well, Tom, this has been fascinating.
This has been fun.
It's been fun to see the other side of the ledger. I
was going to say, these guys aren't
nearly
done a great
as bad. Job.
They're not nearly as bad as the girls told us.
They're not. They're delightful. And they've done a great job of defending the male population.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So I hope that the guys out there are listening to this because you guys, just some amazing advice. And I hope they take this to heart and that they go out there and they try this. Because the most important thing that Bob and I look at is we want you out of your apartment. Right. We want you out of that deep hole of despair and go out. And the way to do that is really to, like you guys said, is to build up the courage and actually go out and do that.
And if you don't have, last piece of advice, if you don't have the courage, like JB said, to be bold, if you don't have that experience or courage to go up and talk to a girl, practice it in front of the mirror, practice with your roommates, and you'll feel so much better about yourself. And it's always important to remember that like, your self-worth is not determined on how many dates you're going on or how many girls are asking you out.
So true.
That you can find happiness and joy within yourself. I know that's not the point of the show, but just keep that in mind if you are feeling
I think if you're happy with yourself, then you have more courage and you're more willing to put yourself out there.
Yeah, and just to echo what Thomas said earlier, it feels a lot better to be rejected than to never even ask a girl out.
Right.
You feel happy, you feel a little bit accomplished, and you're like, hey, I could do that again.
Could you end us off here with that quote that you used earlier?
Yes, of course. The pain of rejection is much less than the pain of regret.
That's true. Yeah. What a great way to end, Bob.
What a great way.
Well, thank you guys for being here. Bob, thank you as always.
It's my pleasure.
You were stunning today.
Why, thank you.
Absolutely stunning.
Was I sick?
You were very sick.
I was
sick.
sick.
You were sick.
And Macy? Macy sick?
Was
I sick?
Ill.
Thank you, Macy, for bringing these young men in. And Sophia, thank you for running our board. And
yes.
Those guys, if you watch our show on YouTube, which we do have a channel, you'll see Sophia's great work in running our board there. You can also find us on Instagram. Did you know that, Bob?
I did know that.
Yeah,
I have seen us on Instagram. I've seen you and me both on Instagram.
It's kind of scary, but the It's Just Dinner podcast. Lots of fun stuff being put up there. And also we're on TikTok at the It's Just Dinner podcast. So you can follow us both those places. Email your funny date stories, your great date stories, your interesting date stories. And I get all the girls are the ones writing the letters. But you can send those in at the It's Just Dinner podcast at gmail.com. So, Bob, thank you. You guys, thank you. You were wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
guys.
listen, just go have fun out there, would you?